This is Harley Sachs with the first reading of Scratch Out, which is written by Harley Sachs, that's me. This book is copyrighted 1989 and 1995 by Harley Sachs. This is a work of fiction. The names, characters, and incidents are either the product of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, events or locales is entirely coincidental. All rights are reserved, and no part of this book may be reproduced in any form except by a newspaper or magazine reviewer who wishes to quote brief passages in connection with a review. So we begin. Prologue. Tripoli, Libya. Before he stepped aside, the projected image of the giant spider briefly overlapped the face of the colonel, making it look like an insect was about to devour his head. In the back row, the man everyone called the professor cringed at the illusion. He didn't like spiders. If anyone knew that the expert at smuggling bombs aboard aircraft was afraid of spiders, they might be amused, but they would keep it to themselves. The professor had no sense of humor. Even a calculating and bloodthirsty terrorist is entitled to his phobias. The tarantula is powerful and formidable, and has only one natural enemy, the voice-over narrator said. Standing aside, the colonel in his desert camouflage uniform studied the audience in the private projection room. He liked to observe people when they didn't know they were being watched. The wrong expression, a sideways glance, could expose a potential enemy in the inner circle, and his survival depended on excising anyone who doubted his purpose or questioned his authority. "That enemy," the narrator continued, "is a tiny wasp." "This was taken from American television," the colonel said. "I taped it from Nova. Watch the wasp." On the screen, the tarantula stood like a hairy, armored black elephant, while a tiny wasp danced under its feet. The tarantula could easily kill the wasp, but does not sense any danger. The wasp is weak. Its sting cannot penetrate the tarantula's armor except at the joint in the spider's leg. While the professor and the other men in the audience watched, the wasp danced and maneuvered until it was in position to thrust its sting between the plates that protected the tarantula's leg. The spider, weakened by the poison, collapsed. The wasp lays its eggs in the paralyzed tarantula, which then serves as hosts for the wasp's young. One of the colonel's personal bodyguards stood at each entrance to the auditorium. One could not be too careful. Allies were not necessarily friends. Today's ally might be tomorrow's enemy. The professor was watched closely. After the meeting, it would be carefully noted who he spoke to and whether he had passed anyone anything. "That's enough," the colonel announced. The screen went dark and the lights came on. The colonel stepped down onto the stage. It was the same stage where he sometimes had belly dancers from Egypt to entertain his guests, the stage where his little daughter Fauzia had once performed. Fauzia would not dance again. She had been killed in the American air raid on the palace. The colonel himself had picked her broken body out of the ruin of his tent on the palace grounds. "The United States is that great spider," the colonel announced, "the great Satan. But we, weak as we are before the great military power of the American bully, we are the wasp. We will have our revenge. The United States has military power and the armor to destroy our people, but we can penetrate its weakness and get our revenge. We can destroy America, just as the wasp can kill the tarantula. Allah Akbar, God is great. We may be a weak and poor nation, but we can destroy the United States for less than the cost of the 2 jet fighters and their brave pilots the Americans shot down over our territorial waters. I'm not talking about a publicity stunt. No bombings of civilian aircraft, no bombings of GI bars in Germany, and no public announcements afterwards claiming credit for our victory. This time we will be silent, and this time we will kill every
Sample complete. Ready to continue?